Well, welcome back to Out with the New and In with the Old. Today, we're going to tell a story that relates to my system of $100 for every 1,000 miles. Anybody that is not familiar with it, it's, I think, 4 videos back where I explain how my system works and how I use it to buy cars without overspending and in hopes of at least breaking even. The premise is for every $100 you spend, that car has to go 1,000 miles. I have bought several $1,000 cars, and they've turned into $2,000 cars since the great economic deal happened in 2020. But pretty much now, what used to be $1,000 cars are $2,000 cars. Even so, I still use the system. In the past, I bought several $1,000 cars and got well over 10,000 miles out of them. And if you calculate that as to what you spend on a new car between insurance and new car payments, and there's no comparison. I mean, you can't even come close. And now with the $2,000 car, you get 20,000 miles, and consider yourself having broke even. And most people don't drive 20,000 in a year. I'm sure some do, but figure if you drove the car for $2,000 for the year, you did good. If you drive it for 2 years, now you drove say you did 40,000 miles, you're doing real good. You got to look at it like, okay, so if I buy a $2,000 car every year just to make that 20,000 miles I drive every year, after 10 years, I've spent $20,000. Okay, so, and it usually doesn't work out like that, but let's say it does. At the end of 10 years, you spent $20,000. Say you buy a brand new car, and hopefully it lasts 10 years, because new ones, reliability ratings aren't so hot nowadays. But let's say it does. Yeah, pretty hard to get a car much cheaper than around 30. Let's say you do. Okay, you say you get one for 30. Now you got to pay interest on it. Let's not even say that. Let's just say you paid cash, 30,000 cash, and you're still okay. So right there, you're 10,000 behind, and that's if the other cars you're buying one every year. Keep in mind that probably won't happen. In fact, chances are very slim that would happen. Now, add 10 years of full coverage insurance on that new car. You're looking at 15 to 20,000 there. Liability on a $2,000 car is $250 a year. Okay, so 10 years, 2,500. You saved another 10,000. So right there is $20,000 saved. You're going to spend money on either one, especially if you keep that one past warranty, and don't think an extended warranty is going to help you. And think if you do get an extended warranty, what that cost you? $7,000, $8,000? They tell you it's this much a month. It's $7,000. You can save a lot of money using this system. And in most cases, like my minivan out there with 20,000 miles on it, or I've put 20,000 miles on it. I've had it a little over 2 years. I don't see it giving up anytime soon. And I'm broke even on it. I mean, to me, it's a free car at this point. If you use the system and compare it to a new car purchase, you're coming out way, way ahead. And like I said, in most cases, if you care for the car you buy, even the cheap one, and you care for it and do your maintenance, don't beat the crap out of it, you'll get several years out of it. I've got one that I bought with 147,000 miles on it 9 years ago. Right now I am doing a repair on it. The rear doors on the extra cab, the cables have come apart, which is very common. And I just ordered the parts online. I could have went down to the auto parts store and picked them up for $14, but online, Walmart had them for $3.79, and it's the same Dorman part. All it is that cable ends that you put on and put the cables back in, and the doors open and close again. So I have to tell you, got to pay shipping, $6.99. So I saved $5, but I didn't have to drive a 30-mile round trip to the auto parts store, and they'll be here tomorrow. In any case, that's a repair on the old Ford F-150, $10. Relatively simple. I think anybody could do it. You know, that it's not something that requires a mechanic. There's several YouTube things online show several people doing it. In fact, I was watching one of them, and that's how I found out about the Dorman part, that you can fix the cables. I was going to buy the cables, and I was like, oh wow, that. And if you buy the cables, you're getting plastic ends. If you buy the Dorman part, you're putting a steel end on each end of the cable. It'll never break again, because that's what happens. The plastic ends brittle over. The truck's 26 years old. They finally fell apart just from being plastic, which makes me wonder, what are these new cars going to be like in 25 years? I mean, there isn't anything on them made of metal anymore. But let's not get off on that. I came to tell a story about one of my cars I bought, and it's going back, but how it figured into the system, the $100 for $1,000 system. And it's a car I bought on a gamble. So this isn't typical, but there was a Saturn station wagon for sale on Marketplace, and it was $750. I'm like, well, that's cheap enough. And it looked good in the picture. It was a good looking car. I think it was a 97 wagon. Had about 140,000, I think, miles on it, 130, 140,000. Went up to look at it. The guy was real straight with me. First thing he told me, he goes, this car uses a lot of oil. That's why I'm selling it cheap. He said, it ran low once, and ever since, we have to add. I said, well, how much is a lot? He goes, well, if I drive it to the city, I got to put a quart in when I get there. And if I drive it back to from the city, I got to put another quart in. And from his house, the city was 50 miles. I was like, that's pretty serious oil usage. I drove it around. Car felt good, drove good. Didn't see a whole lot of smoke, but it was using oil. And I said, you know what? I'll give you $700 for it. I said, we'll just see how long it goes. And I drove it back and forth to work. And it did fine. Passed running right through inspection. Drove good, got good fuel mileage, and I wasn't using the amount of oil he was. And I think part of that was he was basically on the interstate humming along at 70, 75. I going to work, I take rural roads and 55, 60. I didn't turn the engine higher RPMs for the most part. It used oil, but not quite on the level he was telling me, which, he was being completely honest. And, that's why one of the reasons I bought the car. The guy wasn't hiding the thing from me and told me he didn't know what to expect. And I said, I don't either, but I said for $700, take a chance. Anyway, I drove back and forth, and it started using oil worse. And I drove it almost a year, and I put a little over 5,000 miles on it. So now I've got, 2,000 more miles to go to make it where it's free. Otherwise, I lost $200, Actually, less than 200 because I was over 5,000. But I drove it, and it started getting really bad. And I tried a couple things like putting Lucas in it, and that slowed it down a little bit for a short period. Then it went right back, and then it was getting really bad. It was actually getting comical how much oil it used, and I said, okay, I can't keep driving this thing. It finally got to the point where we're starting to foul plugs. And I said, okay. And I drove it almost a year. I didn't want to spend the money putting an engine in it. The car had, at this point, almost 150,000 miles. A Saturn, at that point, a Saturn that ran good was, a $1,500 car, maybe a $2,000 car if it was, real nice. But typically they didn't bring any money. So I was like, I'm going to spend more than the car's worth. I loaded on the trailer and took it to the scrapyard. What did I get? Scrap, I think 100. It was a smaller car. I didn't get as much for it. It was around 140 bucks. So I take that off of the 700 and I got 560. I put, I think, 5,500 miles on it. So I was like $10 shy of breaking even on the car. And I didn't lose anything. I didn't do any repairs to it. And, like I said, the engine was obviously, destroyed from getting run low once. But I eked another 5,500 miles out of it, and it never let me down, never broke down. And it wasn't until the very end where it started to foul a plug every now and then. I wasn't going to start, like every day come home and pull a plug out. So I said, okay, that's it. We got pretty close to getting our money's worth out of it. And I felt okay about it. But it is one of the few cars I didn't quite reach free. But I also bought it knowingly, that this thing might not last. I didn't know if it was going to last a month because, he's telling me basically a quart every 50 miles, and that's pretty serious oil usage. But he was being so straight about it, and then I was like, what, $700, poof, and I ended up almost breaking even. I mean, within $10. When you factor in the sale at the scrapyard. So anyway, just another story about that's actually my worst one. Every other vehicle I've done with my system, I've come out ahead or at worst broke even. I can't even think of one where I broke even. I usually come out ahead because what I'll do typically is I'll get my mileage when the car becomes free. I usually put it on, for sale. Then I figure whatever I get for it is profit. If I drove the car a couple of years and drove those miles that add up to the $100 per 1,000 mile calculation, then at that point it was free transportation. And if I got, any money back, that was profit. The only one I ever kept forever, it seems like, is this old Ford. And now it's become a mission to see how far it's going to go. It paid for itself 4 times over, actually more than 4 times over. And it's still a great truck. I mean, yeah, the back doors are not opening right at the moment, but they will shortly, and $10 later. That's why I love those trucks. You can go to O'Reilly's, you can go anywhere and buy parts for them, and they're usually cheap. You won't get that with a new one. Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching. I just thought that was a good story on part of my system and how it works. Thanks again, and subscribe.